sound on Meteora and the sound on Hybrid Theory was the first chapter. And when we started this record, we had even toyed around with the idea. We'd even made some songs that kind of sounded like they could belong on those records, and it was so redundant to us. It felt like we needed to move on. And so that's what we did, and it took, you know, well over a year to just sort through all the new ideas and try and get something that retained the personality of the band but was something entirely new and fresh that made us feel like this is, you know, something we can get excited about. It's just all new ground that we can try and cover and say what we want to say and play music that we want to play.
The song What I've Done was the last song that we actually recorded. We recorded the whole album and we're finished with it. And at the end, we were really proud of the album we created. But there was something that wasn't really connecting everything together. To me, that song really summed up a huge part of what the album was about. You know, it's about recognizing where you're at the time, and kind of hoping for what lies ahead. When it came time to do the video, I really wanted to focus on where we're at as people and focus on the little picture and the big picture, but also give the viewer an opportunity to interpret their own thought of what it should be, you know. So I really didn't want to be preachy about anything. I just wanted to like throw out, this is what's going on, you know, like take notice or don't take notice. And if there's any tidbits of information that you can process for yourself, then that's great, and that's something that you should take with you.
There are a lot of great things about working with Rick Rubin, though. Rick is just a legend. He's obviously he's just one of the most influential, important producers of our time, flat out. There's no question in my mind or most anybody's mind that that's the truth. When we got an opportunity to just take a meeting with this guy, the excitement level in the band was really high. And when we sat down with him, I think there was a potential there to be very nervous. But Rick is the type of guy that he just, like it's a Jedi mind trick. He just chills you out, and he just, you know, he asked us right away, he asked us a lot of questions. The first one being, what kind of record do you want to make? And we told him we wanted to do something that was pretty much completely different, that kept the personality of the band, but left all that other stuff, you know, where it was. It was great when we did it, we really enjoyed it when it happened, but it's time to do something fresh. On this record we went, you know, made it a point and went out of our way to get the blessing of all the guys on everything. We printed out lyrics and handed them to them. They went downstairs and picked everything apart and came back up to us with lyric sheets full of red pen and red markings. But getting over that, we realized, you know, they've really got some great points, and it pushed us to make this stuff even better. So in that, like everybody, I think everybody just felt invested, you know, and when you listen to the words, there's a lot of meaning in there. Brad and I had known each other since about, like, I think about 7th grade. And we started, he actually played in a lot of bands that I used to go see. At the time I was just doing like hip-hop beats and production and rapping, so like there wasn't really any interest for me to be in a band, you know. But then at a certain point, he and I and another friend of ours got together. We started this band called Zero. It was X-E-R-O. And you know, from there we just kind of started mixing all these different styles, and got, you know, we got a meeting with a label person from I guess it was Immortal at the time, who said, wow, I really love this stuff. You guys should keep working on it, put a band together, go play shows, you know, just get things started. We kind of, I mean, we had already had the intention of doing so, but that was one of those things that made us feel like, yeah, you know, we're on the right track. This, you know, people are interested. So we put the band together. I knew Joe from Art Center, where we went to college together. We were both in the illustration discipline at that college. Brad knew Phoenix from UCLA. Rob Borden, he went to a nearby high school, and then eventually we brought in Chester. We met him through a mutual friend. He was in bands in Arizona, and yeah, the rest is history. We changed the name from Zero to Hybrid Theory, and then from Hybrid Theory to Linkin Park when we were working on our first record, and decided to name that record Hybrid Theory. I remember we had practices all week because we had a really serious showcase for labels that Friday. I was turning in finals all week, and I had a major final on Saturday. So I pulled all-nighters at least half that week, came to the showcase, we worked our butts off, just played as hard as we could for all those people. I went to school the next day, did a final, and I think I probably slept for the whole next week, just exhausted. And the funny thing was, I worked really hard for all that stuff, as all the guys always did, and the finals went well and the showcase went really poorly. The labels, as was the case with a lot of our showcases, we play, we do our thing, and they just kind of I don't think they got it. I think that they were looking for something with a little more like spit in your face testosterone, that real don't give a crap rock star thing, and that's not really what we were ever about. We've always been more about the music and being, hopefully being innovative in that sense, not so much just rock star attitude. I remember a time when we first got signed to Warner Brothers, and we wanted, in our style, it's just how we are, that we wanted to meet the people at Warner, not just be the band that is on the label and everybody's just, it gets thrown on their desk and they work it. That's what happens in a lot of cases, if you can imagine. And we knew that was what would happen. So instead we decided to call a meeting with the entire label. Anybody who would come and say, hey, we're new at the label, we're your new neighbor basically. Come on down to the main meeting room, and we're going to sit and introduce ourselves, and we'd like to meet you as well. In all seriousness, we came into that meeting saying, okay, we know we're going to be on a lot of your radar, a lot of your agendas coming up, to whatever degree of importance that may be. That's up to Warner Brothers. But here's how we treat our fans. Here's the kind of music we make. And if you're going to be on board, then we want you to really hear from us and see clearly how we want things done on our project. And I think that at a certain point, although it was funny sitting in a room with a bunch of 21-year-old kids, who are trying to tell them how to do their job to a certain degree, I think that in a lot of cases we got a lot of great feedback from that, saying, we're so glad to have a band that really cares about all this stuff, and they've got a good relationship with their fans, and they know how to treat the people that listen to their music. A common misconception about what a producer does is that they run the project. I mean, I guess that could be true in some cases, but it's really up to your band, for some bands, they kind of either don't know what to do, so they let other people do it, and that's fine. Totally respect when if your band has a place where they feel uncomfortable, they're in water that they haven't been in before, and you go let somebody else show you the way. That's great. For us, though, we had a very clear picture of what kind of record we wanted to make. And when anybody came in and said that they wanted to do otherwise, we shut them down. And it was very difficult as a new band to do that, because you're dealing with people from the label who have been there for 10 years, you're dealing with a producer who's made a bunch of records and you've never made one. So when somebody says, listen, we want, Mikey, we want you to rap less on this thing, we want you to play keyboard, or Brad, play guitar this way, Rob, play drums this way, etc. All that stuff, we had to basically just tell them, what, we are just simply not going to do that. And it's no disrespect to you guys, but this is the kind of record we're going to make. And we fought long and hard for that. And eventually, at the end of the day, everybody either let us have our way or saw eye to eye with us, and that's the record we made.
I remember hearing One Step Closer and hearing the instrumental version of One Step Closer for the first time, and really feeling the power and knowing that it'll be a great live song to play. I think that was a great moment in the recording process. I don't think we ever, at that time, we never thought in terms of these songs are going to be big, because we didn't know what big was. Big to us at the time was just to be able to get on a tour and play.
Just have a record out at all.
And maybe have a song on the radio, not even have it on the top 10 or whatever, but just to be on the radio, period, and build a fan following of 20,000 people. To us, like, that was, if we achieved that, then that was success.
And then our record came out first week and sold 42,000 copies, which was surprised all of us, you know. I think one of the coolest times for us was when we first heard a song on the radio, actually. That was like, I remember we were in Chester's hometown. We were in Arizona near Phoenix. And the radio station that he had grown up listening to his whole life, you know, they had played his, when he was in, you know, bands, garage bands, like young bands in that area, they played his stuff a little bit, and they played it quite a bit, actually. And he sold a lot of records over there. But that was just locked into, you know, Arizona and that area. And we started getting all these calls like, they're playing your song, they're playing One Step Closer like crazy. And we hadn't heard it on the radio yet, and all of a sudden we heard it. We were touring in an RV at the time, just a piece of crap. This thing was just, it was awful, and it was just us driving it too, lugging our gear in and out of clubs. You know, his DJ rig was the size of a refrigerator, and we'd lift that thing up on stages every night. So we were exhausted, you know, just about to get into town to meet at Chester's dad's house and go to sleep, just tired. And it came out on the radio, One Step Closer came on, the DJ was, you could tell the DJ was really excited about it. Loved playing it. He said all these really nice things about it. He mentioned that Chester was from the area and everything, and said hi to him because he knew we were going to be in town for the, you know, the show. And it was definitely a really special thing, because once we got to the house, you know, it's like we couldn't even go to sleep. We were just so excited that the song was actually on the radio.
When we got nominated, I was pretty close to the end of that touring cycle, you know, after touring for a couple years, and it was pretty crazy. Like, it was kind of hard to believe that we'd be considered for a Grammy, and we were excited just to go to the show, and when we got there, it was kind of like we were the new guys. Not that many people knew about us, so they actually aired the award off the air, or they didn't air it at all, I should say. And then once we went on the red carpet, someone was interviewing us, and they're like, "Oh, how do you feel about winning?" And then we're like,
we had like just showed up.
We were like, "What are you talking about?" Like, so we actually won the award once we got out of the car onto the red carpet, because they already announced it way before. So
that was a weird way to win it, and we were definitely kind of confused. But
yeah.
Once it set in, we were like, I mean, I wonder if there's actually footage of us, like, when we first heard, because you can see us all. I'm imagining, I remember seeing a little bit of it, like you could see us huddled around, and one of our publicist or our manager came up and was like, "You guys, they already aired it. Like, when we got out of the car, they aired it that you guys won." And we're like, "No, that could be wrong. You know, it could be misinformation, whatever." And when they confirmed that it was true, we were freaking out, jumping around on the red carpet, like, probably messing up everybody else's interviews, bumping into people. Like, we did not care. We were just so excited.
yeah.
The second record, Meteora, we basically went straight into that off of the end of the touring cycle from Hybrid Theory. I mean, we didn't stop at all. And we went in the studio and powered it out, and really made an effort to push ourselves. Like, I think all the band feels like it's part of the same, like, chapter in our existence, that it's like Hybrid Theory, but broadened out to a bigger spectrum, bigger sounds, more variety on that record. You know what I mean? And we really pushed ourselves to prove. I think we did have something to prove. I think we wanted to show people we could do it again. You know, that if Hybrid Theory wasn't a fluke, that there had been rumors flying around that we didn't write our songs, that we were a manufactured band, and all this stuff. It was flattering at first, because it's like, what they're really saying is it's too good to be true, you know. But at a certain point, it was really annoying. We were like, how can they doubt us? We're going to do this again, and put it right in their faces and show them that they're wrong. I guess with the Collision Course record, the way it started was the MTV called Jay and said, we want to do this project because mashups are so huge, but nobody's ever done it on a grand scale before. And we want to do a show where you and a band get together and do one of your songs with one of their songs. It was just supposed to be one thing. For me personally, I'm a huge fan of Jay, first of all. Second of all, the idea of mashups is where I come from. Like, that's how I started making music in the first place. The very first beats that I ever made were samples of like anything from Jimi Hendrix to Rage Against the Machine to Led Zeppelin, and then I took acapellas of like Wu-Tang Clan and I put it over top. Like, that's what I grew up doing. So to call on Linkin Park to do this project, like, he kind of, in my mind, and this is not patting myself on the back, this is like just a luck thing, I feel like he hit the jackpot. Because if he had chosen somebody else, they may not have known this thing as backwards and forwards as we did. And we had a great time doing it. Got together with Jay in the studio at NRG, where we usually record, and took it to the stage at the Whiskey. And it was the first time that the mashup, idea, which had been such an underground phenomenon, had been brought to the platinum scale, the big, the big record scale, and with artists that every song that we mashed up, people knew the song, they knew the originals, they were familiar with them. So when you put them together, they knew how cool it was to put those random parts together.